everybody, I'm Katallina, and today we're here to talk about episode 11 of An Archdemon's Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride. I bet it often seems that I want to talk about dessert before I talk about the main course when I talk about this show, and this week is no exception because the thing I want to talk about most is actually the ending where we see Zagan go to Barbatos. Hey, I'd like you to go and look after Chastille because I'm concerned that she's going to get screwed over again. And of course, Barbatos kind of makes a face about it, but Zagan's like, hey, I will pay you to do this. And they make the joke about, like, am I a babysitter, which was really funny. But it makes total sense that Zagan wants to send someone to watch over Chastille because Chastille is so freaking clueless and so freaking trusting. And we already know from previous experience that she is prone to getting involved with people and potentially putting herself in danger because she's already been poisoned once. If Barbatos hadn't shown up when he did in a few episodes back, Chastille would have been absolute dead meat. Now, I actually really find it interesting when I think back on the look on his face when he found her. Because, I mean, back before that, he was actually the one who captured her and Nephi. So to see the progression from that to the look on his face in the episode where he found her poisoned to this situation is really cute. And some people have said some stuff to me in the comments. I'm not going to go into it all and spell it out, but I will say this. If you actually are somebody like me who likes Barbatos and Chastille, please do a bit of Googling around. There is something that features them that you can go and look up. Absolutely go do that if you are interested, but it's really cute to see that hinted at. Apparently, it's farther into the novels than what we've gotten to. Apparently, by the end of this section that we've watched, right now we are at the end of light novel 2, so that's interesting. There is a ton more out there from what I've researched. But yes, if you are a fan of them, then there's definitely more to see if you want to investigate further. I just wanted to point out that I thought it was absolutely precious, the whole situation with them going down. And it was a highlight for me because I really like their characters. And especially, like, ideally, given what I was worried about a few episodes back where I was like, oh my gosh, please tell me she's not going to start having this crush on Zagan and this is going to get weird. No, apparently it's not going to get weird. And if it's not going to get weird, then I would far rather see her end up being interested in someone else than being heartbroken. And I mean, given the kind of story world this is, who would be better than Barbatos? That would be really cute. That's a me thing. I just wanted to put that out there. Okay, now that we got my personal soapbox out of the way, let's get to something that's more so at the heart of the matter and the meat of this episode, and that is what the hell actually happened to Raphael. And the great news is, he lives. That's the short answer. But there is so much more to it than that, and there is so much that we have learned thanks to him in this episode. We find out what the actual situation was with Valefor's dad, and I really liked how they dealt with this. What I like about this show and what I think makes it really unique, one thing I keep seeing happen in practically every situation that we involve ourselves in, is the idea that when somebody says so-and-so did X, it's very likely so-and-so did something, but the actual context and the actual meaning and the actual logic of it is very rarely what one would expect. What I actually thought as I learned more about Raphael's character and his past and things that we learned about him is that Raphael seems like he's almost like the church's version of Zagan. Raphael seems like he is socially awkward, like he has been trying to be friendly to people, he's been trying to approach people, he's been trying to mediate with people, and yet every time people see him, they end up wanting to attack him. And the thing is, I can understand that for the like 250th sorcerer that he's killed. They're like, oh my god, it's him! And I can understand somebody flipping out, and that would make sense. But the idea that he's never actually been the one to initiate this with somebody, to the point where when at the end of the episode he goes to actually take out that bastard who tried to kill Chastille, and he's actually semi-nervous about taking the guy out because that is not something he's ever done. Everything he's ever done has been in self-defense. That was absolutely incredible. While we are on the topic of Raphael, I also really love the fact that Raphael is the spawning point for what could potentially and likely is a central like plotline premise for the series, moving beyond Zagan and Nephi, not leaving them behind to be clear, but adding something so that we can continue to lengthen the story, which is this introduction of the idea that there are actually demons in this world, and those demons are going to likely come back, and the church and the sorcerers and the people in general are going to need to work together to fight against this upcoming threat, and that Raphael has been trying to find people among the church and among the sorcerers who could actually come together and unite to deal with an actual cause rather than just fighting each other like a bunch of idiots. Another thing that I super liked about the whole Raphael interactions is the interaction between Raphael and Valefor, because he has been very adamant since the start of the episode, and even in the last episode to an extent, that if Valefor decides that she wants to execute him, that he will accept his death graciously. What I'm really glad to see is that Valefor ends up deciding to have Raphael become Zagan and Nefi's butler. And I thought that was really cool because, I mean, remember, within the lore of like anime like tropes and ideas, a butler isn't necessarily a lowly position. Many butlers in anime lore are actually powerful combatants. So again, seeing that get nodded at somewhere in a story, that sort of made me smile. I thought that was a cute touch. And I really liked at the end where Zagan and Nefi are finally reunited after this whole situation happened, after Nefi was so good and waited for Zagan and was patient and had faith in him and in Valefor and all that sort of thing. And they end up embracing, and then Raphael is like, okay, Valefor, I'm covering your eyes because this is not appropriate for children. And it's not that anything vulgar or disgusting or tasteless was happening. It's just that he was already stepping into the role of a concerned like grandparent, looking after her, being a familial figure to her. I thought that was really cute, and she reciprocates this, because one thing she does for him that I thought was really beautiful, and I thought that it was this incredible echo of what her father had done in his dying moments, is that the dragon father, I think it's like Orobus or something, I'm terrible with names, you guys know that, but he actually was the one who told Raphael to drink his blood to like save his life and be able to continue this quest to get people to work together and everything. And then after forgiving him, after he's become part of the family in a way and everything, Valefor actually uses her abilities to make him a prosthetic arm to replace the arm that he lost when he saved her life. So she didn't die or anything like that, but I mean, she actually kind of, in her own way, kind of put her own hatred and her own rage and her own pain, at least toward him, to rest in giving him this thing that symbolizes her wish and her will for him to carry on. And I thought that was beautiful. I mean, she's a little kid, she's not going to say it like that, but that is how I interpreted the actions. And again, as I've said many times about this show, I think that the actions the characters take are one of the most key things that needs to be considered. We had a pretty cool fight against a golem in this episode, and I thought that was also really well done. I think it was really cool also because we'd started learning about this whole concept from Raphael about wanting to get sorcerers and the church to work together, and he wants Zagan and Chastille to be the representatives of this. And we actually have been seeing over the last few episodes that of her own accord, Chastille has reached this decision that she wants to fight at Zagan's side. And I really like the fact that we actually get to see some of that in this episode, with the two of them working together and using their respective abilities to be able to team up and take this golem down. And it really was a team effort. I mean, she led the charge, and then he came in and did his thing, and then his thing wasn't necessarily fully working, and then she came in again and she was able to shatter what was left. It was a very equal partnership approach, and I thought that was really clever and really cool. The other really amazing thing about each of these characters is that Zagan is such a socially awkward character. Zagan is such a character who can can have what he's doing misinterpreted by others so easily, whereas Chastille is just such a gentle character and such a sweetheart at her core. I mean, she's overly trusting, she'll cry at anything, she genuinely wants to show compassion to people. Like, she was trying to save Zagan even in episode 3 when she came back with the guards and everything. Like, she was still trying not to do something that she thought was wrong or cruel or mean. So I thought that it was really cool seeing those distinctions between them and seeing the two of them work together. A lot of the characters in this series actually have these interesting contrasts and connections between each other. I mean, like the determination to live that Zagan had versus Neffy's like almost like desperation to die in the beginning, and how each of them, both through Zagan learning to live with another person by having Neffy around and becoming more social, and Neffy learning to want to live because of the time she's spent with Zagan, as an example. Or the trustingness I just described with Chastille is also an interesting contrast when we pair her with Barbatos, as seems to be implied, and the fact that he is so cunning and can be so sinister and is not somebody would necessarily trust, although I think Chastille can give him a shot at this point. I think that despite his words, we never technically, outside of him taking her, which was wrong, but this is a fantasy story, so I'm giving it some leeway, was wrong to take her, did not actually end up doing anything to her, and then when he was sent to check on her, his instant instinct and reaction was to bring her back. Had he wanted to take her out, he could have done so at any time during that situation, and he didn't. So I am somebody who would totally be up for seeing the two of them pair up, but I'm getting off topic again. Anyway, it was really cool just seeing all these different characters and how distinct and how different each of their personalities are and how they all interweave. I mean, we had this section where Zagan was saying stuff, everything, and Chastille was like, is that an insult or a compliment? And Zagan's basically like, you decide. Or the part where they're all sitting together and she has a cup of tea and then Zagan's like, the tea is poisoned, and she almost drops it, and then Zagan's like, fooled ya. And it's like, oh my gosh, because he's trying to get her to be more discerning and more cautious in what she does. Or the beautiful part with her and Valefor, where Valefor actually finally calls her by her name, and poor Chastille just looks like she almost wants to weep tears of joy. There was just so much, and that's the other thing that's really amazing about the show is, I mean, it does a good enough job at its combat sequences, at creating plot and interesting developments and things for the characters to go after, while still making sure to emphasize and show us things that make the characters matter to each other. Because the more they matter to each other, the more they're going to matter to us. And the more they matter to us, the more it's going to matter what happens to them when they go out into the world and face these challenges. I am exceptionally thrilled with how this episode has gone. I think that this series overall has been incredibly well done. We still have one more episode. Everybody is speculating about what could possibly be there, given that this episode here was the end, as I said earlier, of Light Novel 2. It will be interesting to see just what they will do with it and how it will go down, but as I've said, I am thrilled with how everything is going. But those are my thoughts. I would love to know what you guys are thinking, so feel free to drop a comment below and let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye!